You feel your heart racing, your palms are sweaty, trembling, your breath catches in your throat as your eyes dart around you. And you look around and you see your traveling companions looking at you expectantly. One of them gently touches you on the arm and says, "Is everything all right?" Hi there, I'm Dr. Megan Connell, and this is Psychology at the Table. At this episode, we're going to be talking about anxiety and how it can impact play. Now, anxiety is a really big topic, so we're not going to be able to cover everything with anxiety in this one episode, so we'll have some follow-ups afterwards. Now, even if you've never had a player with a full-blown anxiety disorder, chances are you've seen how anxiety can impact play, whether it's somebody getting frazzled trying to add up dice, remembering what their spell does, or what different magic items they have. So to understand how anxiety can impact play, I think it's important to understand how anxiety works in the brain. So anxiety is our brain's reaction to a perceived threat. And if our brain perceives that threat to be high enough, it's going to enter your body into a full fight, flight, or freeze, or triple F response. If someone's body is in a triple F response, it takes several moments for all the neurochemicals to calm down and wash out of their body. So ideally, we don't want our players to get to that point. Because when we're at that heightened level of anxiety, we can't think. Your brain has actually started to shut down its higher order processes in order to streamline energy into your large muscle groups so that you can either fight or run away. And well, evolutionarily, that makes sense when we're getting ready to fight. When all we're fighting is an imaginary monster at the table, it's not very helpful. So what are some things that you can do to help your players not get to that point where they're entering into that full triple F response? Well, first off is to recognize the signs. So some signs that players are starting to get anxious include you might see their hands shaking, not being able to think coherently. They might ask you to repeat things several times. You might notice them starting to stare off into space, starting to sweat, their eyes dilating. Those are times where you're knowing that somebody is starting to ramp up into anxiety, and you might need to do some things to help calm things down a little bit. So one of the first things to do is don't pressure the player who's anxious. Putting more pressure on someone who's anxious does not help. That actually helps speed up the anxiety process and shut the brain down. So just ask them what they're doing and casually see if you can help them. So if someone's getting frazzled going, I just can't remember what the spell does, just, no worries, dude. I know it can be complicated. Which ones are you looking for? What are you trying to do? Okay, cool. As a DM, you can step in and help them. Hopefully you're not feeling at the same level of anxiety that they are, and so it's easier for you to stay calm and help them think through what they want to do on their turn. To that same end, you need to manage the other players at the table. Sometimes other players can be excited to get to their turn, and so they can be a bit impatient when somebody is struggling. Going, come on, dude, just figure it out. I want to do my thing. And just help them go, hey, guys, come on, chill out. We're here to have fun. Let's just relax and get this done. Also, try to understand what's causing the anxiety. If you see this happening with a certain player over and over again, pull them aside and ask them, where they're getting hung up. Is it the adding up of the math? Is it trying to remember their spells? Is it keeping things organized? There's lots of different techniques that you can use to help them manage the things that are causing them anxiety. So for example, if it's just doing the math, letting them use a calculator at the table can be a really easy way to help lower their anxiety. If they're having a hard time remembering what all their spells do and flipping through the book to look up all the spell components, Gale Force 9 makes some great spell cards that I really like to use because you can have all your spells in a sleeve and it keeps them nicely organized and they look great. Also, if say they're playing a sorcerer and they have a hard time tracking their sorcery points or spell slots, using things like little tokens to represent sorcery points or available spell slots can be very helpful. And they just turn those into you when they're converting sorcery points or casting a spell. And after that player finishes a long rest, you hand back the tokens. Also, another good thing to do is if you notice somebody at your table starting to get anxious, especially during combat, is just to take a pause without seeming to take a pause. So what you can do is something like this. At the top of the round, go, okay, top of the round, we got bad guy 1 over here, and Jim, you cast Hex on him, right? Okay, good. And we got bad guy 2 over here, and you put a hunter's mark on that guy, right? Okay. Sally, your character is prone, and Christian, you're over here stealthing. All right. Can everybody just tell me real quick where they're doing health-wise? Something like that is just a real quick pause from combat. It can help everybody take that step back just to calm down and to get back into it. Probably a final thing that I would say is don't force role-playing on somebody. Not everybody's comfortable jumping into character, especially in a new group and right away. So let them role play where their level of comfort is. So if they're saying something like, well, I'm going to intimidate this guy to get the information out of him, don't make them play out how they would intimidate that person. Rather, just ask them, okay, so what would that look like? Are you going to threaten him? Are you going to try to physically hold him up against the wall? Just so they can maybe describe their actions a little bit to start scaffolding them towards that hopeful RP moment. There's a lot more that we can talk about with regards to anxiety, but again, I just wanted to give you guys a general overview and some quick, simple tips that you can use to help you. I'm going to put links in the doobly-doo to the spell tokens and the sorcery tokens that I use in my campaign to help players keep organized, and also links to Gale Force 9, and then maybe just some dice roller apps too that might be helpful for your players with anxiety. I hope that this was helpful to you. If there's more topics around anxiety that you want, please leave that down in the comments. And as always, I hope we can make space at the table for everybody.